It's time for Market Explainer, your number one business news podcast. Hosted by Danny and the big man. And it starts right now.
But this next story, okay. AirBNB's business is booming and the rates are rising. And the reason I picked this out was for a couple of reasons. I think Brian Chesky, I think that's the name of the founder, or whatever it is.
Yeah, Chesky.
Yeah, listen, I don't get it. And maybe you as a guy with a family, you can explain it to me. I like going to, I love a good corporate hotel. I don't want to go to some niche boutique hotel. I want a hotel with rewards points where I can Amber Heard on the mattress and take off. Okay. And they're not going to we need a $600 cleaning fee. They just go, that's how it goes down at the Holiday Inn and Suites off of West Palmer Lane. That's just what they're, or East. Yeah, it's the East side. It's East Palmer Lane. That's just how it goes. I do not because I was going on a large family trip, extended family. And, we're going to some resort town and everyone's like, yeah, we're getting an Airbnb. I'm like, I got a hotel room at a hotel. I don't want to go live in somebody else's house, and then I have to clean up when I leave, and then I pay a $300 cleaning fee, and then it's like I know that some other person is ostensibly. I understand. I go to a hotel, people have farted in these sheets. I get it. All right, but there's something about going. Some lady named Linda has to come down here and change the sheet. It's just not the same thing, and. It's like live like the locals. You're not going to live anywhere like a local unless you live there. And let me tell you something. I'm looking for a rental right now to rent, to move into. I might just move into a hotel full time, right? I might just move into a Starwood Suites and just live there for the rest. It's great, right? I mean, continental breakfast. It's perfect. Why would I ever leave? So I don't get this. Can you as a guy with kids, I don't get it.
Okay, so you have the same reasoning and hesitancy about Airbnbs, VRBOs, whatever,
right.
Short-term rental properties that
right.
I used to have before renting them, right? Is because I had that same hesitancy. And I enjoy a good hotel as well, right?
Yeah.
Hilton the Honors member, love my Hilton membership points, right? Embassy Suites, make breakfast for me every morning, yada, yada. I enjoy that as well. However, especially when you're traveling with more than just your family unit, or your family unit is a certain size, it actually becomes very competitive to rent a house, a VRBO, Airbnb, rather than rent 2 or 3 hotel rooms or 5 hotel rooms. Because like me, you have a wife that insists on bringing her entire family with her every time she goes on vacation. So renting a 5 or 6 bedroom Airbnb becomes much easier and simpler, and then they're all in the same place, right?
Isn't that the problem, though? They're all in the same place. With the hotel room, it's like, well, we couldn't get 5 next to each other, so there's 2 over here. I'm like, great. Now we put the 2 people I don't want to see over here. It's like, oh, you guys are all the way on the other side of the hotel. I guess we can't see it till we leave, right?
Well, I get that, but again, my wife and my circumstance, right? She wants everybody to be in the same hotel or what, and then you get into, well, I don't stay at certain hotels. Look, I've moved past that point in my life. I don't stay in crappy hotels in crappy neighborhoods, but I can't control everybody else's finances, right? So if I rent a big Airbnb, that's already taken care of. Everybody's in the same spot, makes my wife happy.
I see what you mean. So in this particular story, what it's saying is that the home sharing platform posted revenues of $1.5 billion, which is up 70% compared to last year. But last 2 years is a weird time to kind of value anything, right?
Well, they hit a skid, obviously, during the Panini, right? Or whatever. They hit a hard stretch of 6 to 9 months of people weren't going to other people's houses. Right? Renting out other people's houses. They weren't traveling, more or less staying at something that a whole bunch of other people stayed at. Hotels did the same thing.
I know many people who are renting several Airbnbs. I know one person who didn't even own a home was just hopping from Airbnb to Airbnb. But that's
become way more popular as well, right? And when they say their rates are up, most people think rates, they think interest rates, right?
Right.
What they mean by rates is their daily rate for renting, their average daily rate for renting an Airbnb. Their rates are higher, which, here's the deal. Okay, this is yet again, and you and I have talked over and over and over about investing in companies that are publicly traded
Right.
that don't make any sense.
Yeah.
Okay, this company posted revenues of $1.5 billion for the
Correct.
first quarter of this year, right?
Right.
Which is about that time that everybody's posting their first quarter, right?
Right.
And it up 70% compared to last year. Great. All right. But here's what that means. That means that this first quarter, they posted a net loss of
Right.
only $19 million.
And hey, that's not bad.
Well, compared to the first quarter last year was 1.2 billion
Correct.
loss.
So this is I don't understand, and I'm just going to repeat this. There is a lot of these Silicon Valley, you know, companies that came out after The Social Network, right, or they became popular after that movie came out, and they have their founders and their board have this strong anti-capitalist sensibility. Fine. I'm not arguing with that or not saying they're correct or they're incorrect, but I can live with it. What I don't get is a strong anti-capitalist sensibility, and then you start a business where the goal is to make money, and then you take it public, and then it's like you have a fiduciary responsibility to make money for your shareholders. But you're in your soul, you're like, making money is evil. Everybody should just give everything away for free. Labor is free. And those two ideas never work. But then what you end up building is a company that loses $1.2 billion of shareholder money. Mm-hmm. And you go, that's fine.
Well, but how do you make a 1.5 billion and lose $19 million? What are you doing with your money at that? I can't run my business or my household that way, right?
Right.
But then on top of that, here's the deal. Airbnb stock, as of recording this show on 5/6, is worth $138 a share. They lost $19 million in the first 3 months of this year, and it's worth $138 a share. In comparison to, there's another company that released profits this week or whatever. Right. Their net was $1 billion, right?
In their net quarter,
$1 billion in the first quarter. That's their net, not their revenue. Their net. Okay, stock is currently trading at $14 a share. Now, how does that make any sense comparing these two at all?
And so when you say stuff like that, and this is a conversation, a very polite, loving dialogue we've had on the show where I say value is subjective, and then Big Man says that doesn't make any sense. And what I'm trying to tell you is you have to leave the realm of reality, facts, truth, statistics, and numbers. You have to board the spaceship and you have to land on Clown World, because where we actually live is Clown World, where what you just described as a company that loses about 20 million is valued umpteen times more than a company that made $1 billion in the first quarter and probably projected to do even better the rest of the year. So part of what I wanted to kind of get into was, Big Man, are you familiar with short-term rental arbitrage? So it is the new favorite. I'm not going to use the word scam or scheme. I'm just going to say it's the new favorite product of TikTokers selling courses, right? Which 2 years ago they were selling you on drop shipping, and then you can't get a boat out of where everything gets made in China. So now they're trying to convince you to go out there, and I'm not hating on the concept at all. I'm just telling you what it is. Go out there, rent a house from somebody, inform them, hey, this is what I'm going to do. You have a rental property. I'm going to pay your rent. I'm going to clean it. I'm going to maintain it, but I'm going to put Airbnb. I'm going to turn it into an Airbnb.
Yeah. I'm going to sublet it out in short-term rentals.
And fascinatingly enough, I know 2 or 3 people who are generating stupid amounts of cash doing this. So when I saw that Airbnb, the business is booming, because there's something about my brain that goes, why wouldn't I go like, I have an IGH credit card, which is like, international hotel group. Like, why would anybody? And like, I'm going on a family trip, and like I said, everybody's getting an Airbnb, and I'm the only one who's like, I got a hotel room at the, wherever my points work. Because again, like I said, I want to Amber Heard on the mattress and take off, and they're not going to do anything. Okay, they're not going to do anything about it. They're not going to call me up and said you took an Amber Heard in the right. They're not going to do that.
Okay, stop it with the Amber Heard. All right, people may or may not know what you're talking about, and I don't know which one's worse. If they don't know what you're talking about, or if they do.
Yeah, right. I'm just saying it's chalupa time, baby.
Look, if you want a cherry on top of this not making sense Sunday,
right?
They literally said in their, they have the calls, right, where they release these numbers,
earnings call.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, earnings call, and part of the transcript in the earnings call was that it was entirely driven, this $1.5 billion increase was entirely, quote, entirely driven by price appreciation. Meaning they didn't get a whole bunch of new houses on their platform, right? They didn't grow really. It was just in the increase of this average, right? The appreciation of the average rate per night, which means they didn't even grow as a company. They just got more money from their existing, members.
Which I'm just going to tell you, there's a fun word for what they just described: inflation. So again, this makes no sense to me. And what they're doing at scale is microcosmically WeWork, right? And what some of these arbitrage guys are doing is, did you not just see this guy like completely implode? Like he took on short-term liabilities, or he took on long-term liabilities with short-term returns. Like, people are renting a desk, and it's going to be we work, we live, and all of this diabolical stuff that they turned into a television show already. I don't know how any of these. Like, they got a show out about Uber right now.
Well, look, this has all the hallmarks of something that's going to go horribly wrong, right? And I'm not saying the short-term rental industry is an entirety.
No,
here's what I'm saying is all of this extra surrounding it is going to ruin it. The few are going to ruin it for the many. Like you said, people are going to, sign these rental agreements, turn around and make Airbnbs, which is fine for those homeowners, the original investors that owns that home, as long as the Airbnb continues to make money. When it doesn't, they're going to get stiffed, right? Because the person that's been renting it out for the last 5 years was just making money, and then as it didn't, they're going to disappear, right? And then that's going to leave the homeowner, and guess what? It's not going to happen in an up market. It's going to happen in a down market, right? So that's what I'm talking about, where you've got other ones. I know there are some lenders out there in certain states where the lending rules are very lender-friendly, are offering very specific short-term rental loans.
What is that?
And guess what? They don't abide by all of the rules that normal loans do, because
explain to me what that is.
Their loans.
Is it a mortgage or is it a loan?
No, it's a mortgage. Okay. However, because it's what's called an inside product, meaning they are using direct investor money. They're not going through the government. It's not backed by an FHA loan. It's not backed by a bank.
I get you.
They're using individual money, which means they can put whatever terms on it they want.
There you go.
And guess, are those terms very good for you?
Of course
they're not. And are those terms in very lender-friendly states make it very easy for them to take it from you if you don't do what's necessary? What they're telling you would just automatically happen. Just put the down payment down, buy this Airbnb. We'll help you make money.
Right.
Guess what? Okay, when that doesn't happen, they get your Airbnb, you get nothing, right? And they're still Airbnb.
So my question is, how do I get into that part of the business?
Well, but that's so what I'm saying is, it's not short-term rentals, I think, that we're going to end up blowing up. I think the auxiliary things that are happening around them, because it's the Wild West. There's nobody saying, hey, this should or shouldn't happen this way.
And listen, Airbnb didn't I love seeing those. My entire Instagram For You page, or whatever that's called, is just like business, like, these dumb quote cards, which, by the way, I'm going to launch my own series of them, but of course, where it's just like, Uber's the biggest taxi company in the world that doesn't own any taxis. Airbnb is the largest hotel company in the world that doesn't. I hate those.
Yeah.
But it is true. And I don't think that it's going anywhere. And I don't think that Airbnb just made it easy to do, right? Because I've known plenty.
They just created a platform to connect people. That's all they did.
And then
they're making their money in the middle.
And they're just eating fees all day. And I know a lot of Airbnb operators that they own several of the homes. They actually own their properties.
Sure.
And they're like, yeah, Airbnb used to, at the height of, where it started, they used to be really good about, hey, the people came in and they damaged this, that, and the third thing. And, we have pictures or video, whatever, because they have procedures where they go videotape the thing before and after. And Airbnb is like, yeah, we don't cover this stuff anymore. What? So as they're shoving the liability down, you have to go get your own insurance, short-term rental insurance.
Absolutely.
So you're rapidly arriving at a point where this is just SEO. Like all they're really offering you is the customers, they're eating a huge chunk of what you're doing.
It's booking.com, right? It's booking.com. It's travel. What was it?
Travelocity.
The one we used to bid. Travelocity.
And Priceline.
Right.
And a lot of those websites now start pulling in Airbnbs, right? Or short-term rentals from other websites. So when it comes to Airbnb specifically, like you say, I do think it's the ancillary industry around it is going to get disrupted, because this generation of it, because the original generation of it was like, you got to go into a town, you're in the Ozarks, and there's just a guy who's like, yeah, we'll help you rent a house, or whatever. That's how it usually works, or had historically worked.
It used to be sketchy. I mean, it really did. It used to be sketchy. Right, it was done by sketchy people. It was kind of weird.
You go to Galveston and you rent a house.
Yeah,
and then it's like, or if you're on the Jersey Shore, if you're in New York, you go to the shore, and then
the house was garbage because you didn't get to see it in person before you rented it. No, it was kind of a sketchy business. And Airbnb, to their credit,
Yeah, what's that?
The Airbnb, to their credit, add some legitimacy to what was short-term rentals, because they were always sketchy, right? Rent a room, this person's house when you move, whatever. But what I will say, and what I do believe in this industry as a whole, something I'll be investing in, is the fact that we see a future, they see a future as a company, where people are actually staying in these short-term rentals longer, statistically speaking. They're not just staying 2 or 3 days like a hotel. They're staying right now. I think they're nearly half of all bookings, according to this article. Nearly half of all current Airbnb bookings are for at least 7 days. That's half. Hotels can't touch that. I mean, nobody. The average person isn't staying at a hotel for 7 days, but if they're staying this now, and that is on top of part of what the Panini created, and part of what people working from home created, and stuff like that, is there's a whole group of people out there that stay at an Airbnb every month, and they just transition every 4 weeks to a new Airbnb because they can work from anywhere. So why not live in places I want to be? I can go to LA for 2 months, then I can go to South Beach, Florida for 2 months, then I can go to New York for 2 months, all without having a long-term lease, all with being able to decide what I want my next month's bills to be. Right? Because obviously on Airbnb, all of that stuff, electricity, I can know what my next 2 months' bills are by just renting it out of Airbnb for, 2 months.
Correct. And so I'm starting my own platform where people can rent out buses by the river. So,
hey, there's people out there that would do it if it was priced a certain way. Now, part of this article, toward the end of the article, that I think is also relevant to what we were doing, it's not specifically to do with their Airbnb, purchases or whatever, but the CEO came out last week and said, we will not be requiring people to return to the office ever. Right?
They're permanent work from home.
Right. So that came out and was actually probably a bigger news story than the Airbnb part of this story, the actual earnings. That became, because apparently within days of that being out in the world, and I think I even saw a couple of TikToks about that being said, because even people that are saying, hey, we're not making you come back right now, very few people have come out and saying, hey, you're never coming back, right, or whatever. So it went completely viral, and their careers page at Airbnb was viewed more than 800,000 times within a few days after the announcement.
Incredible. Of course, we're going to talk a little later in the show about like the downstream of the Great Resignation or whatever you want to call it. But I think this is a move that is very popular because if you go into the labor market and you say, listen, we want you to be a coal miner, nobody wants to do it, but at a certain price, people get there. But you're talking in this particular scenario about people who are, they don't have dirt on their fingernails, they don't have calluses on their fingers, they're not used to, like, you can't let them stay at home and then say you got to come back. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think a lot of companies are going to see that. But I think that is, I do remember seeing that too. And that is a pretty bold move. And I think that on Airbnb side, they're probably thinking we can just get rid of our office,
Well, but that's the whole, that is newsworthy because 800,000. Now that's page views, right? But even if you cut that in half to 400,000, right? Airbnb, I think, has 5,000 employees.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we're talking 400,000 views. I mean,
that's almost 10x of their,
You see what I'm saying? So that's people interested in what they know is a work from home job, right?
Yeah.
I think you need this kind of news story to be bigger, to show companies out there that obviously have had people work from home for 2 years. Right? They've functioned as companies, they've made money, that it's not disrupted their business model, right?
In Airbnb's case, they've done even better, right?
TD Ameritrade, for example, right? Has done more business in the last 2 years, right, than they did in the previous 2 years. And all of their employees have been working from home for the last 2 years, and they want them all to come back to the office. How dumb is that? How dumb is that?
Makes no sense.
They work in a world that they live on the phone anyway. All of their entire company lives on the phone and a computer in front of them all day, every day anyway. But you want them to come in the office. It makes no sense to me. So articles like this where they get that kind of attention just by saying, hey, you can work from anywhere, more businesses need to get behind that. And I think they need to see it.
So in conclusion, this company's screwed and it's going out of business, but it did one thing right. So
we'll see.
Right. We're going to jump into this next story, but as always, I want to let you know about Big Man Gear. BigManGear.com is where you can buy the Big Man's merch. It is printed and shipped by Amazon Prime, making purchases and returns easy, but you're not going to want to return these shirts, I promise. They're always a good goof.